house.
We work with head coach Carly Thibault-Dudonis and Izabela Nicoletti-Leite and Cyanne Coe. We'll start with an opening statement from coach.
Hard-fought win. That's a great team on the other side, and it's exciting for two great teams from the state of Connecticut to really play in an environment like that with a great crowd and two very talented teams. Happy for us to come out with the win, and really proud of some of the toughness and grit that we showed, particularly down the stretch in the fourth quarter. I didn't love kind of our third quarter output as particular on the defensive end, but really proud of how we kind of stayed the course and got some stops that we needed in the fourth quarter.
Carly, what can you say about the team's grit? It seemed like every time Quinnipiac was coming back with a punch, you guys just drained a three.
I think it's what we've always hung our hat on. And when you say drain a three, did you mean a bank three? Or,
Either or.
But I think that's what this team has always hung our hat on, is that it's not about any one individual. We've had so many people step up in so many different ways throughout the course of the game. I mean, you could look all the way down. Jill hit a huge three. I mean, Cy had some unbelievable rebounds. Iza with some big plays down the stretch. I mean, you could go down the stretch, and so I think that's what makes us hard to guard, particularly in those moments, is that you can't just key in on one or two people.
Iza, I remember watching last year, you seemed so hesitant to shoot, always looking to pass, always looking to back. There seems to be more of an effort, even though it was only 7 shots and you banked in 2 of them. Can you talk about how you sort of changed, adjusted, maybe is a better word for it, your offensive play this year?
I think just being confident on my shot. I felt like last year I kind of came from, I got to be a passing point guard, and I really took that to heart. That's all I did, was just passing. But this year, just like knowing when I do get the open shot, just take the shot. And I've been in the gym a lot, especially with Coach Carly this past 2 weeks, and just getting shots up and creating that confidence. And I feel like that kind of helped my passing with the being able to attack, and then now the help got to come, because if not, I can also score. So.
Coach, in the the late 2000s, early 2010s, you played at Monmouth, and you played against Quinnipiac in the NEC when Coach Fabry was going on her runs. We were kind of alluding to her earlier, but when you get a chance to finally coach against her for now 3 years, and you guys are now going on the run that she had quite a few years ago now, what does it mean to have that 2 great basketball programs in the state of Connecticut?
I mean, I went to high school in this area, not in Fairfield, but an hour from here in East Lyme, and it's the reason I played college basketball. We moved from the Midwest when I was kind of in middle school, moved to Connecticut, and that's really when I started to get serious about basketball, because there was so much great women's basketball in the state. I had never lived anywhere that women's basketball was as important as it is here. So, between everything that was happening at UConn at the time, and then you look at her programs, and over the years, there's been so much great talent in the way that coaches go about it, and so that's one of the reasons I was really excited to come coach in the MAAC, is that there, between Quinnipiac and Marist, there have been teams that not only were great in the league, but were able to be nationally prominent and nationally competitive, and so there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to continue to do that. That's a great team. They've got a lot of young talent, and so it's going to be, I think, a lot of great battles over the years.
What has been the coaching dynamic between you and Coach Fabry over the last couple of years? Coaching on the sidelines, being in some great games like we saw today.
Lots of mutual respect. I think both of us know that. I certainly know about her that she's going to come prepared and have things in her pocket and know different ways to kind of attack things. So just a lot of respect.
Cyanne, you look really comfortable tonight, 6 for 6 on the floor. Is this how you are playing it?
Yeah. Our big plan is just to come out from the start, have better first starts, and like my teammates, they lifted me up, and I just had a lot of confidence going into today's game. So yeah, I just settled in.
She's been in the gym.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Coach, what type of challenges did the first year Gal Ruby bring to your defense, and how was she able to be effective at points, but you guys were really able to shut her down kind of in the fourth quarter?
She's a great player. I mean, she's going to be a problem for a lot of years. I think that she's special because she can clearly create her own shot in difficult ways, which I know these guys will say that they had opportunities in that where she's able to step back. If you close the space, she's able to go back by you. She's very crafty with the ball. But the hard part is that she's a great passer. It's what Iza was talking about here as a scoring point guard, that if you do bring help, she's a very good passer in finding teammates. So that was something that we kind of rotated. Cy had moments, Katie had moments, Beach had moments. We kind of shifted who was on her at different times. And we like to think, and we like to think that we can continue to wear on you with different fresh bodies, but she's a great player.
Coach, you guys haven't lost since, I believe it was the Siena game, back in the tournament, a couple of years ago in the conference. Do you feel the pressure to keep, winning in the conference?
I wouldn't call it pressure. Our team wants to win, period. It doesn't matter who it's against. We don't ever really look too, even with this game, we knew this was a big game. Our team never looked too far ahead. It's just about how with the risk of sounding cliche, getting a little bit better each day. Obviously we knew this was a big one, but I can't speak for these guys, but I wouldn't call it necessarily pressure. It's just this team wants to win, and this team wants to win at the highest level that we can.
Coach Chase Coburn, Chase's Sports News. Talk to me. This is a big game, right down the stretch, two great teams. Your team stayed poised. It didn't feel like it ever got out of control, and it was mentioned earlier how your team just continued to stay with it, and every shot that Quinnipiac was taking seemed like you guys were getting a bigger one and kind of keeping your lead. Just talk to me about the poise and composure from your team down the stretch to close out this game.
We talked about it at, I think it was the media timeout going into the fourth quarter. I felt like we were a little bit, I won't say rattled, but I didn't think we were as connected as I think this team could be. And so that was something I know I emphasized, and I'm sure these guys did in the huddle as well, of getting back to being a connected team that shares the basketball. I think we had like 14 assists a couple minutes into the third quarter and ended the quarter with 15. So we only had that one assist down the stretch in the third quarter. And so that was something we got back to, like, okay, let's play connected. Let's move the ball. Let's share it. Let's get them moving. And you know, shout out, you go down the line of all the different people who created well, but I know Isa and Katie and Kendall and those guys did a great job of finding cutters and Cy and Meg and people on the move. So again, it's just it goes back to the original point of, it's not just on Isa to create everything. It's not just on Katie. It's not just like, we had multiple different people with the ball in their hands that could make a play.
Talk to me about your scoring depth, right? I mean, 4 players in double figures. It seemed like you guys didn't just rely on one offensive scorer. Talk to me about that, kind of how you have multiple scoring options and you can go to down the stretch.
Well, I think the thing I would add to that is Meg wasn't one of them. You know,
Right.
she's someone that you so often look at the stats, and she's the one that's up there. So again, it just goes back to our depth. And I, you know, it's a challenge that I love, is figuring out the right combinations at the right times, because I could play 10 every night, and that's probably my hardest job, which I'll live with that challenge all year long, all day long, of figuring out who to play. Because there's other times I've been with other teams and that you're like, who do I put in, you know? And so
Right.
I don't have that problem. And I think that again, it's a tough matchup for a lot of people.
Thanks,
Tony,
Coach.
the trust you have in your veterans is obvious, but how's Cyanne fitting in as a youngster, earning your trust?
I'm proud of her. She has just grown day by day. It's been really fun to be a part of her growth in all facets of the game. Something that we talked about, I think, her very first meeting in the summer was, you can be a defensive nightmare because you can guard all 5 positions, but I'm really proud of how she's become more aggressive offensively. I think we've really seen that corner turned since maybe the Christmas break, where she's trying to get to the rim more, working on her outside shot and continuing to expand what she can do offensively. So that's something that again, it makes it hard when people can't just sit off her, and she finds ways to cut and move, and her teammates find her.
Last question.
Cyanne, can you just talk a little bit about, you know, how you arrived here? I mean, you're not from the U.S. and now you're here. Can you talk about how you arrived here, and is this experience here at Fairfield living up to your expectations?
Yeah, for sure. Well, being from Canada, you know, just coming into the States for, you know, a long period of time, it is kind of what I expected, and it's all good things. And Fairfield is living up to my expectations 100%. And the people here are lovely. There's not one bad thing I could say about Fairfield. And I feel like I'm fitting in okay, and everyone's
Okay, is the understatement.
yeah, and I'm being surrounded by amazing people. So.
One more question. Finally.
I got, Coach, good to see you.
See.
Success you guys are having, I think it's the 3rd longest winning streak for conference in the country right now, active. Who's in Janelle, and just reinventing a little bit. Just shows how deep you guys are, and losing a player of the year, one of the best players in the country, to be able to still do this. That show the depth you have and how other players have been stepping up for you in the last 2 months.
Absolutely. You know, Nellie's an amazing player, a great teammate, a great leader. And the nice thing with Nellie is that even though she's not on the floor, she's extremely vocal. Her attitude and her presence going through such a major injury is remarkable, because it'd be really easy to feel, and these 2 guys have both done it, it's really easy to feel bad for yourself, to go inward, to isolate, and she's been the epitome of present. But then the other thing, again, to your point of everybody on the court, I mean, Nellie is someone that even when she would have gotten foul trouble last year or whatever it was, we had Katie stepped up, Isa stepped up, and the weight has never been on anybody's shoulders. and we know that whether she's on or off the floor, that Nellie's still making an impact on her teammates.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, Cy. Thanks, Isa. Good win.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.